Sawadee krap. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. As Laura just mentioned, in this session, we're going to focus a little bit on what is new and what is next, both in the industry and at Booking.com. And we're going to look at 3 specific topics that you've already heard a lot about today. We're going to dive in a bit more with subject matter experts from Booking.com to talk more about payments, sustainability, and everyone's favorite topic, generative AI. So without further ado, and for our first tasty topic on payments, please join me in welcoming to the stage Abhijit Prasad, our Vice President of FinTech Product.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Chris said, we don't want to keep you away from lunch, so we'll try to keep this quick and snappy. So payments, what is the buzz about payments? It is ultimately the culmination of a commercial transaction. It is transfer of value. It is how businesses get paid, and it is so important. And as Fiona said earlier, I want to sincerely apologize again for any of the partners who've been affected by our recent upgrade of our financial systems, and we are working very hard to kind of get that right. But what has been the evolution of payments, and how is that going to affect us? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It started off, from time immemorial, it started off as a barter system, right? You kind of exchange value. You give your cow, and you get something else in return for that. And this has evolved over the years. This figure just shows you started off with barter. There was gold, coins, cash, which were used for years, hundreds of years. And then over the past 20 years or 30 years or so, the concept of money and the concept of value has evolved quite a bit, from cards, and cards is kind of very actively used in many parts of the world, to what is known as electronic money. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And at some point in the future, cryptocurrency, which I have to admit I don't really understand well enough. For those of you who do, I'd be keen to get your inputs on that. So what is this insanity that has happened over the past 20, 25 years? There have been a variety of companies that have kind of opened up different ways of exchange of value. And it's difficult for companies to understand how to kind of navigate this space. And the reason it's like a spaghetti on the screen there is because in many cases it actually does feel like spaghetti, and you don't know actually how to navigate this, and how do we kind of make sure you offer the things that consumers expect when they're making payments. So what are the implications, especially for travel? As was mentioned earlier, there's a time lag between when you actually purchase a service to when it actually gets delivered. And as Carlo was just saying, and you may have picked that up, that we see the time lag between when customers book to when they actually use the service to increase. There are unfamiliar currencies, different payment methods, cross-border fees, foreign exchange, and there's this concept of trust and fear of bad actors in the system. I arrived from London yesterday, and I was forced to find something which would accept a card. I didn't have any way to pay with prompt pay and the other kind of payment methods that I use locally, right? And so, especially for travel, the concept of money and how it gets used across geographies is a source of stress and tension for customers and travelers. And so how is it actually evolving, right? As Asia is actually a leader in payments, and those of you who are based here, you know that there's a variety of different payment methods. Every few years there's a new way to pay. And the rest of the world is actually just trying to follow up and catch up with what's happening in Asia. There's payment methods that get used, and apps that you can use to pay for things, goods and services, currencies, and paying actually when you want to rather than when you need to, right? Some of you may have used BNPL, buy now pay later, which is a common method used to pay for traditionally for fast moving goods. But increasingly, we see that also for travel, right? And especially if you're making travel for large, big purchases, right? And you want to kind of have the comfort or the ability to pay over time. And maybe this is the important bit, right? So what is it that Booking is doing to help partners? And what are we doing to try to help travelers? So first of all, we've got a fintech unit, and I'm part of that fintech unit, which has got several hundred people whose job is to make sure that we be the grease, as Fiona said with that WT-40 bottle that you saw, is to be the grease in the financial system to make sure that we are able to support customers and partners consummate the transaction that has actually occurred, and make sure that we reduce the stress and tension that exists for travelers, and reduce the stress and tension for you as partners in the actual collection of that money. And what's the goal of that? The goal of that exercise is really to help you improve conversion. We want to make sure that anybody who comes and searches for a property is able to pay for that easily, quickly, efficiently, without having to kind of worry about, oh God, what am I going to do? Am I comfortable giving my card details here? I can't see the payment method that I use where I can get rewards for using those, right? So to make it easy for customers to actually convert a booking that they want to make, to lower cancellation rates. None of you likes cancellations. We don't like it as well. And offering payments as a solution, we have observed, reduces cancellation rates with customers. And so that's kind of a second objective. Helping dealing with regulations. In some parts of the world, there are specific regulations that continuously evolve, sometimes on an annual basis, sometimes in months, right? Things evolve and change. And we want to take that burden away from you to have to kind of keep up with that. In Europe, for example, there's something called strong customer authentication, which requires you to kind of constantly stay up to date. And we want to kind of ease that burden away from you as our partners so that we can provide that service for you. Handling of fraud, there was a question that I saw that we'll kind of address later in the Ask Me Anything around fraud and chargebacks, right? We want to kind of take that pain away from you so that we can handle that. Because of the size of the payments that we handle, we are very well equipped with tools to reduce that fraud. And ultimately, the goal is to improve customer satisfaction, right? So those are the things that we are working on within the fintech department at Booking. And the thing that I've not kind of showed you on the slide here is what's coming next, right? So we're obviously looking to make sure that our coverage, geographical coverage of payments expands and covers the whole globe. We don't do that today, so there are parts of Asia we don't cover, and the objective is to cover the entire globe so that we can offer that service. We want to offer more services for partners. We've just launched a pilot in a country in Europe to offer working capital advances, and we want to see how that can evolve so that we can offer you more than just a payment service. And we want to kind of make it easier for customers, right? So offering new payment methods that are evolving in the market to make sure, as I said, that we can keep in touch with what customers want in terms of payments. But not only that, offering credit solutions to them potentially, right? So which makes it easier for them to book, for example, longer holidays, makes it easier for them to size what they're able to afford, and actually make those bookings. So with that, let me thank you for the time. And if you want to talk about anything, please come and grab me, and we'll see you in the Ask Me Anything.
Thanks so much, Abhijit. I always love hearing about the work the team is doing to make things easier for people to pay for travel and get paid for travel in the way that they prefer in a local, relevant way. Now, on to another topic that has been discussed already a lot today. I know is one of my favorites and is important to a lot of people in this room, sustainability and travel. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Booking.com's head of sustainability, Danielle De Silva.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Danielle De Silva. I'm the head of sustainability for Booking.com. I'll spend a bit of time today talking to you about sustainability, what's new and next. Sustainability is certainly not new and next itself. I would say it's still very important and growing, but I'll tell you a bit more about what's coming up. I'll focus on three key areas: the growth of the market and what we see and what we can expect with that, the traveler needs and the decisions that they're facing when it comes to sustainability, and then also some of the increased intention that we're seeing from policymakers and destination management organizations. I'll talk a little bit about how we can partner on this, but I have a whole 40-minute session later where I'll really get into the details on that, so I'll save that for later. So as I said, the sustainable tourism market is growing. There's a couple dimensions related to that. One is, of course, on the traveler side. There's growing intent. I know you've heard like 10,000 stats today on how much travelers want to travel sustainably in all of the various ways that they've told us that. But the reality is that intent is growing. Maybe a bit slower to see that intent turn to action, so I think that's something we need to watch in the coming couple of years. But that intent is there, and I'll share some data around that in a second. And then, of course, on the other side, it's what travel suppliers are doing. They're actually acting on their own accord already, regardless of what travelers are doing and responding, because there's pressure on businesses, obviously, to act in a more sustainable way. So those two things together are making an impact. One of the key things that we can see with travelers and why that intent is growing, of course, relates to who travelers are and how their decisions are impacted by sustainability. And one thing that we can, of course, expect is that Gen Z travelers and younger travelers in general are more influenced by sustainability in their travel decisions. And that's not only their travel decisions, that's basically all decisions. Of course, we see with younger generations, they are acting a bit more on sustainability. But what you see here is that between 18 and 34 are more likely to say that they only buy products from brands that are promoting sustainability, or they're on the lookout for brands that are promoting sustainability. And of course, then they're a little bit less likely to say that they don't care about it at all. We'll see some impact of that already as younger travelers are making travel decisions, but as they increase in buying power and become the main decision makers on travel, that will continue to reflect in what we're seeing. On the other side, we also see the engagement from the accommodation side or from the travel supplier side. And one of the ways that we can show this is the number of properties recognized by our Travel Sustainable badge. If you don't know about Travel Sustainable, I think it's been mentioned a few times today, but it's our way of recognizing properties that are taking action on sustainability. We recognize certified properties, and then we also recognize properties that are a little bit earlier in their sustainability journey according to a few levels. We launched that in 2021. In 2022, we had 150,000 partners, and in 2023, we have over 600,000 partners recognized with the Travel Sustainable badge. That, of course, is a bit to do with awareness and people knowing that this program exists, but it's also reflective of properties taking action, of you taking action, and of you sharing that information with us and with travelers. So if you're not one of those 600,000 properties, my question to you is, what can you be doing on sustainability? What investment can you be making? Or what information can you be sharing to make sure that you are being recognized and you're competitive with your peers? Then we get into what travelers are looking for and what we hear from them. I won't belabor this point because we've said it a lot today, but we know that the global travelers are telling us they want to travel more sustainably. In APAC specifically, that number is a bit higher. 96% of Vietnamese travelers, 97% of Filipino travelers, and 99% of Indian travelers are telling us they want to travel more sustainably. So it's an interesting dynamic between, of course, the global average and the Asian market. But then the question is, what are they actually looking for when they say they want to travel more sustainably? We've used that term a lot today, but I think it's worth taking a second to actually understand what we're talking about and align on that. Because maybe we're all thinking we think the same thing, but research shows we don't. So first of all, sustainability is multidimensional. There's environmental, social, and economic sustainability. Cultural sustainability also falls into that, cultural heritage. And what we see is that travelers have different associations with sustainability based on the region that they're coming from. So for instance, European travelers are very likely to associate sustainability and sustainable travel completely with the environment, carbon specifically. That's very likely. But you hear from Asian, African, and American travelers, particularly Latin American, that they are thinking a little bit more about economic sustainability or social sustainability, maybe more about culture, maybe more about the spend in the destination. So, talking very fast, let me catch my breath. So it's important to think about what your traveler is actually looking for in sustainability, and also what's relevant for you and your property, because it's not all the same, and it doesn't have to be all the same. So what about the barriers? We know that travelers want to travel sustainably. This hasn't changed a lot in the last couple of years, but there's still some key barriers. We know that they feel that there are not enough sustainable travel options for them. In Thailand specifically, 70% tell us that there are not enough sustainable options. And beyond the findability, there's also a few barriers related to cost. Particularly in this climate of cost of living increasing, travelers are feeling that cost and their sustainability decisions are at odds. Now, that's not necessarily what the reality is. It doesn't have to be more expensive to travel sustainably, but perception can be reality, and if that's how travelers feel, we need to address it. And we need to think about how we can actually make sure that they don't see sustainability as being the more expensive choice. The last thing I want to touch on is how policymakers and destination management organizations are actually interacting with sustainability. This has been an interesting trend in the last couple of years. There's a couple key ways. So the first one is that regulators are getting involved in looking at how sustainability is being communicated to customers. So this is not just the travel industry, but all industries. And what they're trying to make sure is that claims are reliable, credible, and accurate. So making sure that they're getting ahead of misleading claims. There's a couple examples of that. In South Korea, there's a bill that would actually start fining companies for misleading sustainability claims. So it's good to be aware of communicating effectively, but communicating accurately and reliably. And in Europe, there's a couple directives for that as well. And they impact all businesses that are engaging with those European travelers. The other side of this is how destination management organizations are getting involved, and they have strong sustainability agendas. So we're seeing more mandatory engagement on sustainability. In Turkey, they have mandated that hotels become sustainably certified by 2030, and they've rolled out a program to actually bring that along, so that's something that we see. And in Singapore, they've set a target for 60% of hotel stock to be certified by 2025. So we'll certainly see more destinations trying to activate the accommodation space and putting out programs like this as well. That is a rapid tour, and you can tell because I'm out of breath. I have 40 minutes later today in an explained session, so I'll get into the Travel Sustainable program. And I'm also going to be on the Ask Me Anything session later today, so if you have any questions, you can ask me then. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Danielle. Lots and lots of exciting things to come when it comes to sustainability in travel. I know I'm feeling inspired and more informed. Now, for our last topic, the last thing standing between you and lunch through those doors, is a little bit of a deep dive on what we're doing with generative AI at Booking.com. So, for our last topic, let me introduce to the stage me. So, surprise, I'm going to be talking about this one. So, I'm going to go back a little bit and think about the first time I remember ever hearing about artificial intelligence. Does this look familiar to anyone? It's a friendly movie about a robot from the future that comes back to save a boy. It's not what it's about. But this is the first time I think probably a lot of us ever remember seeing artificial intelligence being discussed in the mainstream. And it was super scary. It was evil robots coming back to the future to destroy mankind. To be clear, this is not what we think is now or next at Booking.com, but it's important to have that frame of reference. Over the past year, we've seen a lot of discussion, a lot of headlines. There's been a lot of movement with this new technology called generative AI. AI's been around for a long time, but with ChatGPT coming on the scene, everyone's talking about how they can get, AI to do their homework for them or to do their job for them. There's lots of excitement, lots of speculation, lots of regulatory concerns. It's an exciting time. This is just a snapshot of headlines I could find with one Google search in the past week. So to say that everyone is talking about Gen AI at the moment is not an understatement. But at Booking.com, we've actually been working with artificial intelligence and machine learning for a really long time. You heard earlier on stage Dr. John talk about how we have hundreds of data scientists at Booking.com, and that is very much true. They're embedded throughout our product organization, and in fact, almost every single thing you do and interact with on Booking.com involves machine learning in some way. So, from the first moment you go to a search engine and you type in amazing hotel in Bangkok, there are machine learning models at play on Booking.com figuring out the best way to support that search query. When you get to our site and you want to search, same thing is happening. We're thinking about, what have they searched for before? Are they logged in? What do we know about their preferences? What did they already put in their search filter? Then, after the initial search results come up, when there's more filters added, I want a swimming pool, I want it to be pet-friendly, travel sustainable is important to me, even more machine learning models come into play to make sure that we're delivering the most right and relevant results for you. You can go through the whole process when you're looking at reviews for a property because we like reviews, but guess what? We don't necessarily always speak the same languages of all the other travelers who've been to that property. We have in-house machine translations that automatically, on the spot, can translate those reviews for you so you can read them in your own language. And let's say maybe you need some help with customer service. Machine learning models are what power our help center and help figure out what's the best way for you to get support in the most quickest, efficient way. Machine learning models also predict, based on where people are traveling, where they're coming from, where they're going to, how many customer service agents we need at any given time who speak a certain language. So from beginning to end of your trip, machine learning is helping make Booking.com work more seamlessly and easier for you. Now, what does this have to do with what's new and next? Well, actually, we're combining these two things together with one of the newest things we've launched at Booking.com, which is our AI trip planner. And what it does is it combines that new generative AI, that large language model technology that is ChatGPT, with Booking.com's own existing machine learning models to create something completely new, which is a new way to search and explore on Booking.com. In a nutshell, what does it do? Now, it allows you to think, to communicate in a very conversational way and start that search and exploration experience. So think about the way you start thinking about a trip with your partner or your friends or your family. You don't always know, I know exactly where I want to go. You think, it might be nice to go somewhere where there's nice beaches that's also family friendly, but not too crowded and maybe a little romantic. The way our site is currently structured, that's a lot of information to put in the search box that we don't know what to do with it. But the AI trip planner, because it can pull on various different data sources, as well as Booking.com's own wealth of information about destinations and properties, can handle that in a new and different way that is very exciting. Again, like I said, it can give you more tailored recommendations for your searches and the way you want to search. It can give you, you can go back and forth, you can see what you've already gotten results for, and say, yeah, that's kind of close. Actually, I want something that looks a little bit closer to the beach, or has a better view, or what about stuff that is wheelchair accessible? The AI trip planner can do all of that. And it's more integrated. It's a more integrated travel planning experience. You can chat conversationally like you're chatting with a friend. We'll present you with visual options you can scroll through. If you like something, you can go forward with booking it. If not, you can go back, pick up with where you left off, and keep refining and searching further. Now, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. A video is worth infinitely more. So I'm going to show a little video with my colleague Pranav walking you through what the AI trip planner actually looks like.
I'm excited to announce the launch of Booking.com's pilot AI trip planner and introduce you to a new era of highly personalized travel planning. We've designed the trip planner to be entirely conversational. This means our travelers can generate itineraries, explore destinations, and find and book accommodations, all while having a conversation. Let's say you're planning a trip to Italy. You want to go with your family, and you'd rather go to the coast, somewhere off the beaten track. You want to book an apartment, you need parking, and you want something with a pool. In a matter of seconds, the AI trip planner will generate recommendations that are tailored specifically to your needs. You can go directly from research mode to book mode, all within the same app. We want to learn and grow with our customers, and so we're launching today so we can build and learn and grow to make it easier for everyone to experience the world.
So, it's very early days, and right now this is currently available to our US travelers in the app. But as you've learned probably already with Booking.com, we like to start kind of small, learn a lot, iterate before we roll out further. And that's the same thing we're doing here. So we wanted to share a little bit about what we've learned so far about the way people are interacting with the AI trip planner. People love beaches. I think that's not a huge surprise. I think anyone in the travel industry knows that people, when they go on holiday, oftentimes like to be near a beach. But actually, the top 4 or 5 of all of the themes we see coming to the top the most are things around beaches. So lots of learnings there. Travelers are asking for quite specific destination recommendations, which kind of matched our hypothesis and our use case for why we developed the AI trip planner in the first place. So this goes back to how you think about trip planning when you're doing that with your friends and your family. Oh, I really want to go somewhere where I can do some shopping, and I can do this, and I can do that, and the other. We thought that's what people might be doing with the AI trip planner, and that is what they're doing. So it's a way for us to explore further and find new and different ways to surface relevant information for those very specific destination requests. People are creating lots and lots of itineraries, which is really cool. We're learning a lot about the beginning of the trip planning process, and also sometimes after people have booked their flight and their place to stay, what they're most concerned about, what they want to do. So this is very much informing some of the next steps we're going to take in terms of how we develop it further. How can we make itineraries easier for people to augment, share, save, all those kinds of things? So, what's next? As I mentioned, very, very early days for us. We're very much focused on gathering learnings, focusing on what we're going to iterate for the future. We are going to be scaling to additional geographies and languages in 2024, so stay tuned for more of that to come, including exposure in the APAC region. We're going to be adding new verticals and functionalities. So right now, this is very much focused on destination and accommodations, but as I just mentioned, there's a lot of desire to understand how can I do things about things to do? How can I book great experiences, activities, attractions? So more to come on that front. And I think another thing to point out is the teams, when I talked to them, said, please make sure you tell the group of partners that we're also thinking of ways we can leverage generative AI to make our tooling more partner-friendly, to make repetitive tasks easier to do. So nothing to share just yet, but stay tuned for more of that over the course of the next year in terms of ways generative AI will be making the partner experience also easier on Booking.com. And with that, we are done. Thank you.